everybody, and welcome back to First Ring Daily Live. Paul, it's very much live show, isn't it?
Can you tell?
Well, you look like a giddy schoolgirl who had too much sugar.
I don't know why.
Yeah, you're not denying these facts. But anyways, today's show is brought to you by Smart Deploy. And you know what, Spencer, why don't you just tell us about Smart Deploy?
Oh, I can definitely do that. I love talking about Smart Deploy. So Smart Deploy is Windows OS and application deployment software. We make it super easy for customers to set up all their desktops and laptops and tablets and servers in a modern way. Try to make that work really easy for IT pros to get back to more strategic tasks and get rid of some of the more mundane tasks, like setting up new devices, so that you can focus your time on what's more strategic to what you like to do. We know that this is challenging work for IT guys, and it's not getting easier with newer devices and newer technologies, and updating operating systems. With Microsoft releasing more and more versions of Windows 10, staying on that platform has become more challenging, and reimaging is now even increasingly relevant, all the way through hardware devices, and getting more technical there with different types of hard drives and chipsets, and older deployment technologies aren't working as well as they used to, and so we're trying to give a modern way to allow customers to be successful with their deployment projects.
Spencer, are you saying that people provisioning laptops isn't fun?
Sometimes it's the hangnail of IT for guys. It can be time-consuming and painful, and so we try to, dignify the role of an IT guy that gets beat up from his end users all the time that are complaining about machines not working right, and give them a simple and reliable way to try and make their job. Hopefully, we make it be more enjoyable. If nothing else, a little less painful.
Paul, question for you, Paul. I have a pretty bad memory, but have you or I ever complained about a laptop not working correctly?
Not that I can think of. What do you? Oh, you mean like every single day of our lives? By the way, just anecdotally, a couple of things. He mentioned this process is not fun. Actually, I would argue with Smart Deploy kind of is fun. In fact, I've continued experimenting with it, after writing the review. But the interesting kind of side story here is literally last night, because I have two Surface Books, and that's what I was using with Smart Deploy. I decided to use the Microsoft. This is like an individual tool. It's not like we're not blowing this thing out for like 20 machines at a company, but just myself, went and got the recovery tools from Microsoft. I saw they supported 1709. I thought, fantastic. This thing churned and worked and worked and worked all night long. And I stayed up late literally to kind of babysit the thing, and then ended up with 1703. It was like
brutal.
Typical. Yeah, no, I mean, it was kind of an interesting kind of bookend to the whole Smart Deploy experience for me, because I literally spent so much time deploying Windows to this machine that when I finally did it not the managed Microsoft way, but using the Microsoft stuff, it was just the most garbage experience imaginable.
Yeah, I think to your point too, Paul, on a one-off, maybe you can sort of tolerate it, but to your point, what if you're in a business and you rolled your whole sales team out that way, come in the next morning to a sales team that can't make calls.
Something else. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Work all night and not get what you wanted. Microsoft.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Paul, that feels like a Monday to me.
It is.
every time we get on this podcast and you're on the other side, I'm like, I worked really hard to not get what I wanted.
Yeah, it's like, how was your weekend? It's like, I don't remember. I was busy banging my head against the wall the entire time.
These are some good company slogans and marketing campaigns. Work really hard to not get what you want.
I have no idea why they don't let us do marketing.
It's like, I worked really hard, but at least I didn't get what I wanted. It's kind of fake on that too.
That's awesome.
quick question for you, Spencer. What else is on the Smart Deploy horizon? I know we talk a lot about what it's doing today. What's coming tomorrow? If you can talk about it without getting fired.
A lot of
Saturday,
customers are wanting more support for branch office and leveraging obviously clouds everywhere now. So a lot of this work's been on-prem, and we're getting further into cloud options to better support remote user, home office user, branch office where you may not have on-site IT. And so we're trying to beat the Federal Express and UPS rodeo and let customers just right-click deploy anywhere in the world whenever they want, with the lowest cost and most efficient way of doing that, leveraging Microsoft's OneDrive cloud, Google's cloud, Dropbox, etc. So you get a really inexpensive cloud storage and an ability to push images that way. So making a lot of inroads that way. Longer tail is to do additional capability and application deployment as well after the fact, and servicing machines and giving customers daily value with the product. Currently, we're awesome at making sure that any OS and app on anything is perfect and handle all the driver magic, show for you and everything. But ongoing customers, okay, that was delightful. What's the next step? So we're going to be making inroads that way. We've got an exciting new release that will be shipping Q1. So right after the first of the year is what we're aiming for. Some nice usability improvements, both on-prem and for the cloud stuff. And then, we're a relatively small team in comparison to, a Microsoft or a Symantec. And we just listen to customers' feedback and try and deliver the discrete features one at a time that customers want, and take their feedback and iterate and try and make it be better and better. I mean, this is a strategic focus for us. I mean, we're a private independent company, and so we have a lot of fun here. We have a lot of fun working with IT pros and joking with them about what's working well and what's not, and try and make things be better one piece at a time. So we're excited about the roadmap. We don't think that Windows is dead by any means. We don't think people in business being productive with full 10 key is going anywhere anytime soon. It's great that we've got mobile phones. We use those all the time too, but if I have to work on an Excel spreadsheet, I'm not going to pinch and swipe to do that. So, we're just trying to help people be as productive on the devices they use day to day as possible, and keep moving in that direction.
Very cool. 2 questions that I did not tell you about, or actually, I don't think I told you any before we started. Two personal
and this
questions.
This round of Stump the Chump.
The questions only get harder.
And now we dive into the fun stuff that I like to ask every person we encounter. What smartphone do you use?
I have an Apple device, the 7S, not the S. Yeah, 7 Plus. Not the
There's only 50 iterations of the same name.
Yep.
But
I was trying to think. No, wait. I have the latest 7. Wait, did they do this? No, they went to 8. Yeah. I've got the.
I have a 9.
Apple 7 Plus.
And then, what laptop do you use at work and for personal?
Work, I have a Lenovo X1 Carbon 4th Gen that I really like. I think the only kind of funny part about it is that I like to use an actual NIC instead of wireless. Call me old school, but you have to have a little adapter dongle to carry around with you for that. But other than that, I really like how light it is. It's been super reliable, and it's a great device. At home, we have a Dell. I've got an Apple iMac, and I also have a Dell desktop that we use as well. So one's kind of over in the kitchen, and that's always handy for looking stuff up and playing with the kids. And then my wife likes managing photos with the Apple, so we try to keep her happy with that too.
There you go. I know the feeling of happy wife, happy life. It's real. Well, very much appreciate you stopping by, Spencer. We'll definitely have you back here in the near future.
Awesome, gentlemen. Thanks a ton for your time, and let me be part of your show.
Yeah, thank you.
Not a problem. But moving things along here, Paul, did you know that Microsoft announced earnings yesterday?
Yeah, I was vaguely aware of it.
Yeah.
Frank Shaw awarded me the best tweets of the broadcast after the earnings announcement, which I appreciated, although he seemed to believe I was drunk. So it was kind of a kind of a pro-con thing.
Yeah, it's the internet form of the Razzies. So.
Exactly.
Quick knock 'em down highlights. We got 24.5 billion in revenue, 6.6 billion in net income, and importantly for Microsoft's ego, since it looks like they're going to miss their billion device thing with Windows 10 by probably a wide margin, they did hit their annualized run rate of hitting 20 billion in a year. Specifically, at the current rate, it would be 20.4 billion. But as we always know, that doesn't really tell us a whole lot. It just says cloud services are growing, but we don't actually still know the Azure revenue at this time. So
yeah, there's also kind of an ongoing drama there where Microsoft has these different business units. So for Azure, for example, is inside something called the Intelligent Cloud. But when this annual run rate on revenue that you're describing, ARR, is for something called the Commercial Cloud. Which is not a business at Microsoft. It's little parts of other businesses, so part of it comes from Intelligent Cloud, part of it comes from whatever the productivity part of it's called. Part of it actually comes from more personal computing, even because Windows Update is a service. And so they kind of pull all this stuff in, and it's like, here we may have all this cloud stuff, and together it's like this big pile of stuff. So it's kind of ARR is itself kind of a made-up number. In the sense that it's not real annual revenue, it's like projected. If this quarter represented the entire year, this is how much we made. It's like, yes, if I made as much money, as I did this year in one day, I'd be a millionaire, of course, but that's not how it works. And the other thing is, like I said, these things that the products and services they're pulling into this named item is not a business at Microsoft. It's a bunch of separate things. So it's kind of goofy, but I continue. I'm never going to stop complaining about this. I would love to see hard numbers on things, specifically revenues on Azure. Would be one.
Yeah.
Number of individual Surface devices sold, number of Windows 10 licenses sold, or I guess they're using active users these days, whatever it is. And they just don't do that.
Yep. Also, other things announced. Surface is back over that billion-dollar threshold. I think it was 1.03. No surprise there with the Surface Laptop and Surface Pro being announced. Actually, if it was anything less than that, that'd actually be very concerning. And then 53 million Xbox Live users, which is up from 47 million from Q1 of a year ago. But from the previous quarter, it was about flat. But year over year is the better comparison instead of quarter to quarter.
So when I covered the earnings and short takes this morning, which I try to do in a fairly lighthearted fashion, usually I've actually found those Surface numbers to be very concerning. And I was interested to see that Peter Bright had the same issues that I did, which is this. The Surface revenues were up, I think the figure was 12%. It might have been 14%, but I believe it was 12%, which is year over year. If you go back a year ago to this quarter, they didn't have anything new to announce. They hadn't announced anything new. So the previous quarter, there were no new products. In fact, what we were coming off of was an almost a year ago release at that time of Surface Pro 4 and Surface Book, which were big products, but also suffered from severe reliability problems, right? Which may or may not have hampered sales. It's kind of unclear. But during the middle part of 2016, they didn't release any new Surface products. So that should have been a down quarter. I haven't gone back and looked, but I assume it wasn't that great. That Microsoft this past quarter released two new products, a Surface Laptop, and finally a much overdue upgrade to the Surface Pro, which is their best-selling product. That Surface sales, or revenues, I should say, were only up 12%, I think, 12 year over year. Under those conditions is actually kind of a disaster, because that it should have been at least double that. I mean, given the fact that we're brand new products out in the market for the first time, and when you kind of tack on top of that the fact that Surface Book and Surface Pro were not released worldwide, they were kind of dribbled out actually over an 18-month period to different markets, and Surface Pro, the new one, and Surface Laptop were both released globally. So that again indicates they should have had much better sales comparatively. So I'm not actually sure that's, in fact, I'm reasonably sure that's not very good news.
Yeah, the only kind of qualifier that jumps into my head about that is that it is back to school time, so people are going to be buying whatever's the latest gen, despite the fact that it is old. We also don't really know if anybody even cares if they're new or not. I mean, if you go to the mom and pops, they just say, we're going to buy the latest Surface or whatever. We're not going to wait. Timmy's going to college. But to your point, though, being up only 12% does feel a little small from anybody who is kind of like sitting on their hands waiting for an update.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that Surface Laptop was kind of the standout. They mentioned that one specifically. I do believe over time that will become their best-selling product. It's a beautiful machine. It's kind of, it's almost instantly like an iconic design, right? We can complain about the tech stuff, like they don't have USB-C. I get it, but it's a beautiful machine, and I think this is going to be a nice mainstream bestseller for a long time to come.
Yeah, somebody pointed out something a little interesting, and I guess I didn't really think of it this way. They said, it doesn't really matter how well the Surface sells, which granted Microsoft would argue differently, but what they are very good at doing is setting a benchmark, saying, look, if you want to buy just a generic run-of-the-mill laptop, the Surface laptop is great, right? It's going to be a safe bet, premium hardware. If you really want to extend yourself, you can go buy one of those high-end Lenovo's or high-end HPs potentially, but the Surface laptop is just a very good, it's the Toyota Camry of laptops.
Wow. Yeah. All right. I'll accept that.
Yes, you will. You know what else you'll accept, Paul?
No, but what?
I'm sure you're going to tell me. I know you can't tell us everything, but please describe the look and smell of the Xbox One X.
It does have that new console smell. Yeah, I mean, I can't discuss the software aspect of it. I think it's okay to say that I am busy installing apps and things like that, games, really. I mean, I don't remember if I mentioned this to you, but, Forza, before the 4K assets are even available, is like 95 gigabytes, right? So that process takes quite a while. I complained about the Surface Book thing earlier. This process, if anything, is even worse. But, of course, it's transferring so much more data. Okay, but regardless of that, as far as the hardware goes, obviously the Xbox One X bears a close familial relation to the Xbox One S. It's black instead of white and so forth. I think it's gorgeous. I in fact, when did the Xbox One S come out? Was it 2 years ago? Was it that long ago?
I think it was 2 years ago. You were somewhere in Europe. Yeah.
Right. So I had them send it to you, and I bought one for myself when I got back from wherever I was, Lyon or something. I don't know. But I described it in an article as the perfect thing, right? And what I meant by that was that from a design standpoint, it's elegant and beautiful. I would walk into my living room at the time and see it sitting there next to the TV, and you'd kind of pause and just look at it. It's iconic, to overuse a word today. And I think the Xbox One X has that same quality to it. We can debate, people like different things, obviously. We were talking about the Harman Kardon Invoke, and some people think that this is the most beautiful piece of machinery, and some people think it's a little mechanical and masculine or whatever. And I happen to think that's a good looking device, but whatever, opinions vary. I think the Xbox One X also has a kind of a timeless nature to it. I think it's just a great looking machine. The problem is, like, the stuff that's truly interesting about it, its ability to play 4K games, HDR, and well, that's it, I guess, isn't it? Or to take existing games that either, by the way, were on the Xbox 360 or previously on the Xbox One, and have them load and play faster, have them have faster frame rates, have them have HDR capabilities, have them play at higher resolutions, is probably going to be awesome. I can't talk about it, but that's I think the truly compelling thing here. So in the same way that everyone is kind of looking at, how's the iPhone 10 selling, or how's the iPhone 8 selling, or whatever, here in Microsoft land, a lot of eyes are turning toward the Xbox One X and whether it can turn around the franchise and help things and improve things. And I would say, from kind of a hardware perspective, I think it justifies the price. And I will say, with one exception, like this thing, right? The Xbox One X controller is good. It's good. You know, you and I both have what's the Elite controller, which is wonderful. That's what I've been using for the past, actually probably 2 years now. I don't remember exactly, but for a long time I've been using Elite controller, and it's wonderful. It's super expensive. It's strange to me. I understand kind of why they did it, but the Xbox One X ships with just the basic controller. You know, the Xbox, I think they just call it the Xbox One controller now. It's a wireless controller. It's no different than the controller that shipped with the original Xbox. Well, it's a little different. I'm sorry. It's got the supposedly textured grip, which is just plastic with little pebble points in it. And I think it's got a better wireless thing. But fundamentally, the controller hasn't really changed like it did on the original Xbox, fairly dramatically, like it did over time with the Xbox 360. This thing, it seems a little cheap to me. Like I kind of wish they had bumped up the quality of the controller they put in here. I kind of wish that they had already released a second gen Elite controller. Frankly, at $500, you could make the case like maybe that thing should be included with this device. And I think that's my only kind of hardware related complaint. I mean, otherwise, it's all very straightforward. If you understand the Xbox One S, this thing works exactly the same way. That the sounds are the same. That everything looks the same, etc. And they've even done it down with the port selection on the back. Not only is it the same exact ports you see on the Xbox One S, but they're arrayed in the same exact order, on the back, like from left to right. They're the exact ports in the exact same place. So I think that kind of thing was super smart on their part.
I was just petting the Invoke.
Hello, pretty.
Yeah.
You like that thing, right? I mean, like hardware-wise,
yeah.
do you find that to be... Yeah, I like that thing a lot.
You know what I want? I want 3 of these on my house and an independent subwoofer somewhere.
Yeah. And you want to do like stereo pairing. You want to do whole house audio. Yeah. You want like this intelligent array of these things where when you ask it a question, the right one answers based on where you are in the house and so forth. Yeah, of course.
Which Microsoft has the technology to do it. I just worry about how long it's going to take them to push it out.
Yeah. Well, they have voice recognition, but not on that, which is kind of a big deal too. I mean, it's one of those things you kind of want to see.
So, Paul, speaking of things you don't want to see, I accidentally stole something.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Have you ever contacted anyone about this? Someone named Brad.
Yeah. So approximately, I would say 90 minutes ago, I stole something, and it's a lesson in personal security. So I was wanting to play a game on the new AMD Threadripper machine called Fortnite. And so you have to do it through Epic Games because it's not in Steam because, why make life easy for me? So I download the Epic client and I punch in my email address, which is brad@outlook.com. It says, hey, you have an account already. I'm like, yeah, I probably just forgot about it. So I did password reset the password. It comes to my inbox. I logged in with the new password. And somebody named Brad Pierce had apparently already set up this account with that email address and had bought about 4 games using this account that I am now logged into. And I assume that he is logged out permanently from because there was no phone number and it only had my email address. So unless he has some sort of backup account, he can no longer access that account.
Sorry, Brad. Also, account security, anybody?
Yeah. Yeah, like if I was a real jerk, there's a credit card in there too. I could go buy stuff on his account, which is
tempting.
Yeah, tempting. Yeah, I was going to buy an Xbox One X and just see if he minded.
Find out where he lives and send him a thank you letter. I had this guy years and years ago. This guy was bitching and moaning to me over email about whatever. I don't even remember what the topic was. And I looked him up and was surprised to discover he was actually a professor at a college. So nice. I mailed him a book from Amazon called Email for Dummies. Yep.
Oh my God. Yeah. So anyway, if that Brad is listening to the show, please contact me and I will give you your account back. But don't use my email to sign up for your personal accounts. That would be step 1.
Right.
Step 1.
Right.
Paul, I believe we have a gate situation on our hand. That word gets thrown around a lot. But go on about Google Pixelgate, Paul. Tell us more.
Pixelgate. Well, I guess it's more about how Google is trying to avoid a Pixelgate, right? Because I complained in the past, for example, with the endemic problems with the iPhone 4, right? It wasn't just AntennaGate. That device had tons of other issues, but AntennaGate got all the press. And then, of course, there was the SurfaceGate stuff with Surface Pro 4 and Surface Book from about a year and a half ago, where Microsoft knew that there were all kinds of crazy sleep problems, especially with those devices, and then took like 8 or 9 months really to solve them completely. It was, and we're awfully quiet for like 4 to 6 months. So you probably have heard of a couple of problems, with the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL, more like 7 or 8 problems, like lots of problems, especially screen problems on the Pixel 2 XL. People have seen burn-in issues, which is crazy. Blue tint, which is, kind of subjective, and other issues, pops and clicks and things like that. So Google, through their support forums, which, by the way, I think is exactly the right way to handle this, go to where the people are complaining, has posted detailed information about every one of these complaints, its investigation into those issues, and what it intends to do about them. And in basically every case, they're going to fix them somehow, and mostly through software, right? So, for example, a lot of people have complained with the Pixel 2 XL that the screen is kind of dull and not as vibrant as we're used to with these modern OLED displays, which, almost like blow out your eyeballs. They're so, kind of HDR-like. And Google said, look, we designed it this way on purpose. This is color accurate. It's 100%. But we know that people like these really bright displays. So we're going to release a software update that's going to enable you to have non-color accuracy and have a really bright, vibrant display. If that's what you want, it's fine. Like the display is capable of doing it. We just thought we were doing the right thing. Our mistake. And so, there's rather than step through each one of the problems and what their fix is, I think the thing that's most interesting about this is just the way they're handling it. I think it's very commendable. I complain about Microsoft a lot, in particular because I cover Microsoft primarily still, and I can only compare and contrast. Now, whether these issues indicate some kind of immaturity on their part with regards to designing hardware, I think you can make that case as well. I certainly have, but I think the broader issue is just that they're doing the right thing. And I got to tell you, I pre-ordered one of these things like the second you could. Mine is still not set to ship until the middle of November for some reason. I know people are already getting these things, but I've gone to the site again and again and sort of thought about canceling my order. It's $1,000. It's really serious.
Yeah.
So for now, I think given their response, I'm going to let it happen. Like, I'm going to get this thing. They also extended the warranty, I should say, by the way, on these devices from 1 year to 2 years, which I think is kind of a nice thing for people who are nervous about quality on kind of an ongoing basis. So I'm going to get it, and I'm going to see how it is, and I'm going to be open-eyed about it. There were some people in the comments who are like, "Oh, you're turning into like a Google guy, and you're not, you don't hold them to the same standard as Microsoft." No, I hold them to literally the same standard. I find Microsoft's response to these kind of problems to be pretty lacking, frankly, and so I give them credit for the response. Don't give them so much credit for having the problems in the first place, obviously, but it does seem like they're doing the right thing.
Yeah. So we will see how this plays out. Obviously, as more units get out into the world, more people will do that. Paul, curious, did you buy the tuxedo model or the penguin model or the zebra model? What'd you buy?
I hate you.
I went there. For those not aware, Paul was a little perturbed that people were calling the black and white model the penguin or the panda. The panda.
What is wrong with people, Brad?
They like to have fun, Paul, unlike you.
Yeah, I don't like
Be creative.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but what one did you order? I don't even know. I know it's probably an XL, but.
Yeah, I got the black and white XL.
So you got the panda.
Well, okay. So in my defense, yes, I did. No, you got to put a case. No, you got to put a case on it, right? So, like, I got, for example, I got a gold iPhone 7 Plus last year because that's all I could get, and I wanted to get it day one. Yada yada yada. And I never wanted a gold phone, right? We had fun with that. But two things to that, I will say. First of all, you put like a brown leather case on it. It looks super sharp. It's really nice looking. You can't really see the gold too much. But honestly, over the year of using it, the one thing I will say about the device is I actually kind of like the gold. Like, it looks nice. It's actually really well done. It's not like a gaudy kind of, you know, like I'm an oil rich guy with a gold phone or something. Like, it's actually nice. You know, the black and white thing, whatever, it almost doesn't matter what the color is, because I'm putting a case on this thing. There's no way I'm not going to have a case. So the only question is, you know, the kind of case and whatever. So I actually ordered a couple of those because I'm not really sure what those are going to be like.
Maybe you could put a sport jacket on it so it looks fancy.
like a tux kind of thing.
Yeah, you know.
Mm-hmm. Little top hat.
Little monocle, maybe.
little cane, maybe on the side.
Maybe some fancy shoes. Welcome back to What Are We Doing With Our Life, folks. Sit here. Oh, gosh. But you know what, Paul? Thankfully, today is Friday.
I know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's going to be cold and rainy. Speaking of cold, but not so much rainy, we talked about this yesterday. I actually ordered 2 new PC fans for the Threadripper. Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to orient them in kind of, I guess, perpendicular to the way they are now? Is that what you're worried about? The ones that are going out the wrong direction or whatever?
I'm worried about the air that's blowing over the radiator for the CPU. Is what I'm worried about, because essentially right now I'm looking at it, it's like passive, like pulling cold air in to the machine. Now I can't feel like a small air. Yeah, so I'm basically.
So is this going to be for like the top of the device? So it'll blow in from the top. Is that what you're doing?
Yep. So I'm going to mount them upside down on the inside of the case. Well, obviously, so that the air is then being basically forced induction. I'm going to supercharge this thing with some forced induction, Paul.
Okay.
Anyway, that's what I'm. That's
also
what I'm
some cold fusion. Why not?
Yeah. Maybe we'll just. Yep. This thing is not waterproof like the new iPhones, but I will. Yeah, it is water cooled. So I will be doing that on Saturday because it's going to be 44 Fahrenheit, which is, what's that in Celsius? Probably about 9 Celsius.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's. I'm just going to hide in the basement from my family. That's my plan for Saturday.
That's my plan every weekend.
Yeah. Speaking of it being Friday, we're going to take a look back at some of the comments that made us laugh, think, or whatever. Actually, the first one comes from the forums, and I thought this was just kind of an interesting topic. Alejandro, maybe. He says, with Microsoft increasingly focused on the enterprise with another OS, it says, will another operating system dominate the consumer space in the near future, in the 3 to 5? And I think that answer, Paul, unless you disagree, is already yes. It's just called Android and iOS.
Yeah. I mean, I think he might be talking about the PC space. So the truth is, within the context of PCs, which, you know, PC sales continue to fall, although I would point out that the sales fall is slowing, right? I mean, we're talking low single digits now. And so, you know, in some ways we sort of plateaued. Like, this market is some size. It's kind of, you know, it will probably slowly go down over time, but it is the size. I think most people kind of stick with the PC, frankly. But yeah, you know, Chrome OS is interesting. Mac is probably interesting to a lot of people. But yeah, the mainstream, I guess, consumer personal computing devices are phones, you know.
Yeah.
And that means they're mostly Android, and some of them are iOS.
Yep. And then I don't know if you can answer this next question, Paul, but I definitely want to see it when you write it up. It's from Devad. It says, on the Xbox One X, your unboxing post, I, for one, cannot wait to hear Paul's thoughts on the fan noise, if any. Fingers are crossed that this thing isn't a leaf blower under the TV. I think a lot of people have these questions because obviously it's 6 teraflops for this console, and I believe the Xbox One S is like 1.5. The Xbox One S is pretty quiet, but if you amplify the Xbox One S fans 6x, it would be very loud. So I'm going to be curious to see how your thoughts on the cooling situation on this thing.
What's your question?
As always, deep thoughts by Paul Surratt. He will have a new book
so I'm only allowed to discuss what happens until you plug it in and turn it on. So I'm probably not violating any agreement when I say that I cannot say.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that you took this thing out for sushi last night then?
Yep. I used it as a pillow last night, Brad. It was hard, but what are you going to do?
But was it cool, Paul? Was it cool in the middle of the night after cool side of the pillow?
I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
Oof. Oof.
I will say this. There are a lot of things to test here because Xbox One X behaves a certain way when you plug it into like a 1080p type of display. There actually are some improvements, as Microsoft has noted, when you do that. And then obviously when you plug it into a 4K display with HDR, it's driving a lot more pixels and everything. And so I understand the concern. Thinking about the Xbox One and the Xbox One S, I don't recall ever having a major issue with fan noise with these machines. I would say that was a much bigger problem on the 360. I'm trying to think if I don't really ever notice the fans on the original devices. So obviously I'll look at that. Listen, I will say fan noise. We talk about this a lot with like Surface devices and other laptops. This is an issue for me. I'm very sensitive to sound. So that is something you can expect will be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason you've never heard any of the fans, Paul, is because you have none.
That was hurtful on a number of levels, much like the joke.
Yeah, I've had better, but I was waiting for it. I was sitting on that and waiting for you to stop talking. And you got anything else going on this weekend, Paul?
No, I'm going to be testing the Xbox One X, obviously. I finally have a ton of games on there. That took quite a while, Yeah, I'm doing 1080p and 4K testing, obviously. I really can't say much about it, but there's a lot to it, right? Because there are like I said, the Xbox One, Xbox 360 games that are being enhanced for Xbox One X. I mean, it's very interesting. Like you have to kind of go back and forth, and you have particular games on one console versus the other. How does it look? So that's very time consuming, and it's going to take me away from my family, and they're just going to have to understand.
Well, we appreciate your sacrifices as always, Paul.
What about you, Brad?
I'm going to be hiding in the basement doing fan stuff because I have at least 2 fans coming.
Yikes. I saw at least 6 in that box, so you should be pretty good.
Yeah. So that's about it. I think it's actually going to be a pretty terrible weekend. I think it's going to be raining outside. It's going to be cold.
Yep.
And that's really about it.
All right.
Good stuff. So as always, everybody, if you did not check out the beginning of the show, go back and watch what Spencer talked about. He had some really good insight about what they're doing over Smart Deploy. For machines with 50 to 50,000 users, they are good at that stuff. Go check it out at smartdeploy.com/Thurrott. And we'll catch you right back here on Monday. And hopefully Paul will be able to talk about some of the things that he did over the weekend, maybe, or maybe not.
By the way,
I don't know, actually. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend.
I guess not. So, I think the Xbox Store was just updated with the gifting capability.
Oh.
It just happened.
Well, Paul, we'll sign off with this. Go gift yourself.
Yeah,
Catch you next time, everybody.